All right, in this lecture, I'm going to just spend a little bit of time talking about two other theories, the theory of planned behavior and then inoculation theory. So the theory of planned behavior, it's really a popular one that's used in health promotion campaigns. It's one in which you try to send messages to persuade people to engage in certain healthy activities or not engage in unhealthy activities. And basically, what it says is that our behavior, the way it's studied, is that our behavior is a function of our behavioral intention. That is, do I intend to do that behavior or not? Now, what I'm going to do here is rather than redraw all the diagrams and whatnot in the book, I want you to look at Figure 7.2. Look at Figure 7.2 in the book, and and I'm going to give a couple of examples using this figure with regard to about how the theory of planned behavior works. So basically, just to overview, it says our behavioral intentions are a function of several things. But let's now looking at Figure 7.2. Let's work backward. Okay, here's a particular behavior, and there's my intention in terms of whether or not I'm going to perform it or not. My intention, whether or not I want to do it or not, is going to be affected by several things. One is my attitude toward it, and that's just how you feel about that issue or that behavior. The other is what is called your normative beliefs. That is, people whose opinion you value. What do they think about that particular behavior? And do you have a strong motivation to comply? And then the third factor affecting behavioral intention is, do you think it's something you can do? Can you control it? Is it controllable? And that is a function of how confident am I able to do it, to be able to do that behavior. That's what self-efficacy is, confidence in being able to do the behavior. And controllability is how much, meaning how much control do you have over that behavior? Is it something that is easy for you to do, or is it something that you sometimes have a great deal of difficulty doing? So if we're going to look at this particular model, let's take a couple of examples. Let's say that I want you to, I'm promoting not smoking marijuana. Let's just take something simple. So if I want to prevent people from smoking marijuana, then the behavioral intention is I don't want to smoke marijuana. So what is my attitude toward that? Well, I don't find it, very interesting or something that I'd like to do. Or is your attitude one that, hey, I've done that in the past and I've actually really enjoyed it? In terms of normative beliefs, how does that come into play? Is it something that, well, my friends do it, my friends smoke, and we have a real close group of buddies, and I like to be part of them and be like them, and that's just part of the things that we do? Or are those normative beliefs maybe something in the opposite direction, like, well, none of my friends smoke, and I don't really, and we don't really see any value of that, and we kind of think that we can get enjoy ourselves without having those kinds of artificial sensations from drug use. And then in terms of perceived behavioral control, is it something where you can say, yeah, I don't really smoke that much, and it's easy for me not to do it, and I have a lot of confidence that I can't. That I have a lot of confidence that I don't need to smoke? Or is it something where you've actually developed some sense of dependency? Because, it really does make you feel good when you have that high, and it's something that may be difficult to do because of that dependency. So as you might think in an example like that, it's like, if I want you not to smoke marijuana or to stop smoking marijuana, what's your attitude toward that? Is that going to work for my argument or work against it? What does your social network, particularly important others, that could be friends, that could be family, what do they think about it? Are they going to put pressure on you to continue to engage in a behavior like, say, smoking? Or is it, will they instead think it's very good for you not to be smoking marijuana? And then the same with the perceived behavioral control. Is it something that you feel like you can easily do and can stop? Or is it something that you may feel that there's some difficulty in doing that because perhaps of some dependent behavior that you have with that substance? And this obviously and this is why you see that it works well with health issues, because it could apply to anything. It could apply to exercise. It could apply to other alcohol and drug use. It applies to smoking. It can apply to diet. So what I want you to understand in terms of how I've gone over it here is how behavioral intentions, the things that predict behavior, are a function of one's attitude toward that, one's normative beliefs about the kind of the peer pressure or not that they have to do that particular activity you would like for them to do or not to do, and what kind of control do they feel that they have over it to be able to follow through on the message that you're sending. And finally, inoculation theory is like the kind of the anti-persuasive message approach to persuasion. And basically what it focuses on are efforts to preempt another's persuasive attempts. In other words, when someone's trying to persuade a group of people to do something that goes against what they normally believe or do, then this would be what you would do to tell people how to argue against the things that they were trying to tell you to do. So it has two basic components. One, there's a threat that people are going to challenge your beliefs, and when they what you believe or what your normal practices or something, and then the way that inoculation theory works is you alert people that their beliefs are going to be challenged, and then you give them a refutational preemption that people will say that they're going to argue this, this, and this, but instead you need to know why, and why. And so a good example of this might be if you hear arguments of why you should not vaccinate your children because it could lead to autism. So what you may hear, let's suppose that someone was going to try to do that, then if I was to try to preempt that belief, I would say, what they're going to do is they're going to try to tell you that vaccination will contribute to the greater likelihood that your child being autistic. And they will provide examples of people telling stories about how they believe that because they got their child vaccinated, they have autism. But the fact of the matter is that there's no evidence to support that at all. And in fact, when you don't vaccinate your child, you put other children at risk for getting serious illnesses. And for that matter, you put your own children at risk for getting serious illnesses and possibly even premature death. So this would be my attempt to say that you're about to hear this message, and this is what they're going to tell you, but here are the facts as it relates to what we know about this particular thing, and vaccination is still a really, really important and good thing. Here's another example of that, this very famous one that's often used to talk about inoculation theory. This is a scene from A Few Good Men, and you can go into the PowerPoint slides on eCampus that I have on this and look at it. But it is something, not preemptive arguing and reasoning is something that is often used in courtrooms.